Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. Hey, y'all, it's been a long time since I've done an interview, and I'm going back to a favorite creator of mine, Sam Johnson. Of course, you know from Geek-Girl. We've had him on the show in the past talking about Geek-Girl, talking about his amazing concept and his creative talent in general. We're back, of course, with another interview where we're talking about the newest issue of Geek-Girl, and a lot has changed. But how are you doing today, Sam?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Geek-Girl, we talked a while back, and we talked about episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 4 really raised the questions of your characters. The fact that, one epic final confrontation that left all sides kind of damaged and burnt out, for lack of better spoiler. But, you're coming in with a new Geek-Girl, but it's a familiar character.
Yeah, so the climax of the first Geek-Girl miniseries saw Geek-Girl facing off against Lightning Storm, the new supervillain who was trying to kind of take over Maine, where she lives. She trashed a bunch of police stations. She'd taken down superheroes, including hospitalizing Neon Girl, who was the big shot superheroine of the town, Acorn Ridge, where Ruby lives. And so it was kind of left on Ruby K, aka Geek-Girl, to step up and try and take Lightning Storm down, which she did. But in the process got electrocuted, so we ended up with them both on the floor, not knowing quite what was what with them.
And then, it feels like a couple of months later or whatever, we're joining Geek-Girl yet again, but it's now a brand new Geek-Girl.
Yeah, well, basically we can reveal now that Ruby K is in a coma off the back of what happened. So Summer, who's her best friend, and when she initially got her powers from the super tech glasses that also mess with her brain, which initially made her super klutzy, causing her to knock drinks over her too cool for school friends and alienating them. Summer was the one who stuck by her, and Summer was the one who put the idea in her head of becoming a superhero. Summer's dad's a comic book geek, so she's all into that stuff. Her dorm walls are covered with posters of comics and of Neon Girl. Summer designed is a fashion student. She made Ruby's costume for her, so she kind of pushed Ruby into things a bit. And Ruby, yes, she saved the city, but not without price. So Summer feels a little responsible. So she was there at the scene. She helped in the battle against Lightning Storm, and as a result, she took the glasses when Ruby went into hospital for safekeeping, but has decided now that Geek-Girl, the town is very undermanned in the fight against crime now after the damage Lightning Storm has done. Neon Girl's still out of the picture. Ruby K obviously in a coma, and that's it for main superheroes apart from Pitbull, the jock superhero, who also got taken down by Lightning Storm and was on crutches but has recovered. So Summer feels she needs, given all this, to she's got these glasses, let's do something with them. So she's kind of teamed up with Pitbull as a mentor who's training her up, but there's no real time for training because there's so much crime going on, so she's getting trained on the job. So she's taken on the costume, she's taken on the glasses. She is Geek-Girl, but she is filling in as Geek-Girl. She's only doing this, she's not, she doesn't have the propensity for it that Ruby does. She's having a tough time with it, but she wants to do this, but it's caretaking. This isn't, Summer's not doing this thinking, right, this is going to be me for the rest of my life. This is not a legacy hero. This is Summer trying to do the right thing while Ruby's off the map.
Yeah. And, this is a kind of an interesting story. I mean, the fact that I wouldn't call Summer really a sidekick, but in essence, in the first 4 issues, she was, like you said, she was the one that really supported Ruby when she first started. But in reading this, at least the first issue that I've read, the fact that she's stepped up in a big way is great to see for these characters. It goes to show as a writer, I mean, you always paid attention to your supporting characters, and now that you're making a supporting character in the limelight in terms of Summer here, I think it's just a great twist on the classic superhero trope there.
Yeah, I mean, I like to keep things unpredictable, as you recall from the cliffhangers that were throughout the climax of the first miniseries. Yeah, I mean, Summer, as I say, this is not. Don't think we're going to be seeing Summer as Geek-Girl permanently. It remains to be seen what's going to happen with Ruby Kay. But one thing that I've really enjoyed with this first issue is Ruby is in a coma, so we get to spend more time with the other characters. And another thing that's going on is the cool kids clique that had a raised eyebrow about her supposed superpowers have now been disproved. Any disbelief has been disproved because she's been on camera saving the goddamn city. So she's a big name now, and whereas before they didn't really buy all this that Ruby was trying to sell, and weren't impressed with her dorky behavior due to not being able to handle the new strengths she had initially, and also the glasses messing with her brain. Now, well, she's kind of cool now, so they might want to get back in with her, so they're visiting her in her hospital bed while she's in a coma, talking to her, hoping they get heard, although still managing to get in their basic bitch cracks and comments in there as they do. And then Mariella, who was involved in the first series, who was the waitress that Trevor Goldstein came up with the glasses for in order to try and become a superhero and win over before his plans went awry by Ruby and her friend Stacy getting them drunk and winning the glasses off them and going to strip poker. Ruby became friends with Mariella through helping her basically with her powers and the problems that Mariella was having with a villain who'd kind of like well, let's not go too far into that, but it was they've formed a bond. So Mariella understandably is wanting to check in on Ruby, and the friends in inverted commas that have kind of camped out in Ruby's hotel room make Mariella feel very, very unwelcome there. So there's that conflict going on as well, and Summer has kind of been ostracized by them as well now because they see her as kind of riding on Ruby's coattails, trying to sort of cash in on the cachet of Geek-Girl, which of course they're not trying to do at all.
Oh, of course not. No, definitely not. But in looking at the superhero genre, what is it about? Well, let's take a step back. The superhero genre of Marvel and DC has been in the movie industry for the past 10, almost 15 years now, and they've done a good job in terms of identifying, what the fans like and what the fans don't like. What is it about comics specifically? You can include Geek-Girl in this as well, obviously, that people aren't fatigued about.
That's a difficult one to answer because I can't really comics. I mean, there's for a long time there's been a huge volume of superhero comics. In terms of that crossing over into TV and film, there is now a very large and growing number of superhero movies and TV shows, and I don't know if that will hit some sort of fatigue. But in terms of comics, it's like you don't have to buy superhero comics. There are other comics available, but that is the staple of comic books. You would not expect there to be a short supply of superheroes. I mean, partly why, as I think I probably mentioned the first time, why I set Geek-Girl in Maine, a relatively small city, is so that she wouldn't be bumping into Spider-Man and every other superhero that's out fighting crime in Manhattan.
I really think that it's good that you went with sorry, getting a text from my mother. it's good that you went small city because in focusing in on the small areas, you have a limited area to work with, and like you said, you don't run into the more famous of the individuals, but you're also showcasing like that crime is still crime no matter what. I mean, your new supervillains or the new gangs and violence that have cropped up in Maine specifically are kind of unique, and at least it's interesting in the fact that you're really showcasing that, hey, every superhero starts somewhere, but even the villains themselves are still up to their old tricks.
Yeah, I mean, what's happening in the new series, which the arc of it is called Crime War, is we have the League of Larcenists who have realised that there's there's gold in them there hills, wherein the police department is massively depleted, the superhero department, for want of a better term, is depleted in Maine, and there's an opportunity here. So crime is kind of running rife. When we see Summer coming into the issue, she's trying to stop a mugger and then gets called straight by Pitbull as they're hooked up via headphones to go and take on a super villain. And the League of Larcenists have identified that they've got an opportunity here, and these guys have prepared. They've got the leader of them, Pighead, is a slightly quirky individual, quite aggressive character. His human brain is fused with that of a pig's, and his appearance matches that. And he's really put some proper thought and planning into this, and they've got some super tech. They've got like big blasters, if you think sort of Cannibal style blasters. They couldn't get the pouches, unfortunately, but based on Deadpool 2, those don't seem to be de rigueur anymore, so that's okay. They've got teleporting equipment, so what they're trying to do is make a name for themselves. They're pulling bank jobs, and as it seems in the first issue, they pretty much can't be stopped because they get in. Even the tech they've got can basically a bit that I would be in a sort of director's cut scene of Geek-Girl 1, where in the when they go into the bank and the tellers slam the shutters down, and Pighead's like, you better open them or we're just going to kill everyone in here, which they do. But then the bit that would have been in a sort of an extended cut was like, you've just saved yourself some shit there because we had tech that could totally destroy your shutters anyway. So yeah, he's coming at this. They've all got code names. Pighead, funnily enough, as gets referenced to the chagrin of Terry, who's a new recruit that comes in at the end of the issue and gets on the wrong side of Pighead. Pighead isn't actually his code name. Isn't actually his real name. Is a code name despite appearances, and Terry puts his foot in it when he kind of makes reference to this, thinking that it is his actual name. So Terry is a guy. Basically, what's happened on? We've got a team of 4 in the League of Larcenists, and the recruit and the first 4 newbies coming at the end of issue 1, and they're all in, these 4 guys. Terry he's got a wife and kid. He's not really that bad of a guy. He's just trying to make ends meet, and he sees this opportunity, but he's kind of phoning it in, like we're saying. Some characters here have come to Maine for this reason, but he's not prepared to move there. So it's whereas Pighead wants everyone all in, Terry is not so much, and this is a point of friction between them. And when they're coming up with code names for the newbies, they want something that's reflective of their personality, or at least how Pighead perceives them. And he's struggling to. They've got a bunch of masks, and they're trying to find one that suits the character, and they don't see anything that particularly fits Terry. They're looking at Hulk Hogan and Terminator, and that doesn't really seem to fit. And then one of the other newbies mentions that his wife's recently made him have a vasectomy. So people say, "Got it, you're numbnuts." So that's Terry's delightful code name from that point on, which, as you can imagine, is something he's overjoyed about.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, good stuff. I see that, of course. We're looking for episode. Sorry, I should say, Geek-Girl number 2 is coming out in July. So in a couple of months now. That's amazing. First off, And I mean, secondly, are we kind of following the same trajectory? Wow, I cannot speak today. The same trajectory. It's been a while, folks. The same aspect that Ruby followed in her first 4 issues, or is this more of a eventually Ruby may wake up type situation, or are you finally giving Summer some time in the spotlight before you kind of put her back to supporting cast member status?
We're gonna give Summer some time in the spotlight, but what will become apparent fast is that she's just not great at this, and she's in a very dangerous situation. And I think she's very lovable in the role. I think people will enjoy seeing her, but she's kind of out of her depth, and like Ruby experience, she's kind of been ostracized to a degree from her other friends. She's formed a bond with Mariella while Ruby's been in a coma. They've met in the hospital. So yeah, we are going to see her in the spotlight, but whatever is going on with Ruby, even in issue 1 where she's just comatose, Ruby is still kind of, at the heart of it is not just Ruby, but at the heart of it is Ruby and Summer's relationship. And things have kind of shifted here, because Summer was, the other girls, Karin and Jennifer and Stacy and Caitlin, the other girls in their crew were fine with Summer, but it was Ruby that was getting the cold shoulder, and now that's completely switched. So Summer is not going to have a hard time. Is going to have a hard time of it, but their relationship, whatever is going on with Ruby, whatever happens with Ruby, is kind of core to the book still. It's not becoming the Summer show, like as I've alluded to. Summer is doing this kind of for Ruby. She feels on some level kind of responsible for her being put in the coma. So she's kind of doing it whether she's up to it or not.
Well, like I said, I've loved the humor that you brought to it. I love the humanity that you've brought also to your characters throughout all of this as well too. And like with the first 4 issues, and like with this one here, you know how to tease the masses, and I still hate you for a couple of issues on 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the first series. But, but you definitely know how to set up for wanting to read the next issue. I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it because you keep doing it. Much to my chagrin, unfortunately. But hey, that you know how to write, and that's the main thing, and you have great characters. But I also see at the end of this particular issue, I know we briefly talked about the Almighties. What's been happening with that lately?
Well, the Almighties, the comedy superhero team, co-created with Mike Gagnon. That's the third one, Almighties Afterbirth. A tip of the hat to DC Rebirth. Is in the works. I'm trying. The problem always with the Almighties is everyone involved is doing lots of other things. So Mike teaches, Eleonora being the main artist on the series. But we're a good way through on getting the third one done. And my aim, if we can, I can't make promises on this because of other commitments, but my aim is to have the new one out around about the same time as Geek-Girl 4, the final issue of this miniseries, comes out. So if the stars align for that, there'll be an ad for it and to getting it at the end of the 4th miniseries. But I'd say I can't promise on that. And with Geek-Girl, we're not full time on it, but this is our main devotion of time is Geek-Girl, so we can get it done at a regular schedule. But the Almighties, it's fun, and it will come out, and I think it'll be enjoyed. And we've got Wayne Winston, the Deadpool parody, who's introduced there's the free, you can still get the free Almighties Origins digital comic if you go to my blog, Google Sam Johnson Comics. It should come up quite easily for you. You can still get that, and that Wayne Winston gets a mention in that. He's in issue 0, and then he's going to become part of the team in the Almighty's Afterbirth, and that's going to be fun, because the challenge with doing a Deadpool parody is, well, the character's already kind of a parody, so where do you go with that? And in Almighty Zero, what we did was just take the motor mouth thing up to 11, and then in the Almighty's Afterbirth, it goes the opposite of that, because Joe Cyborg, who brings the team back together, and this is set up in Almighty's origin, has convinced Wayne that he really needs to be completely silent while they're in battle, so he can focus on the fight and not be distracted. And the real reason that Joe's doing that, which Wayne is unaware of, is that Joe finds him fucking annoying.
Oh gosh, yeah. Much like a lot of characters, sometimes you just get too much of them, and well, as you know, the Mark with the mouth definitely doesn't know when to shut up.
No, but that's why we love him.
That is true. It is true. Although I watched the second Deadpool film as well too, and it was good. It was just not, the first one had magic. Second one was good, but some things they just dragged on too long. It was like Peter Griffin when he skins his knee and all that stuff. It's just like you're dragging things on too long.
You see, I'm totally down with a 5-minute bit of Peter Griffin going, ah!
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Deadpool 2 yet. I'm seeing it this coming weekend, so I can't comment, but hopefully we'll dig it.
Well, I didn't spoil anything, so let's put it that way. No. So I hate it when people do that to me, or they're like, "Oh, are you okay if I spoil it?" I'm like, it depends on the film. Yeah,
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
Are you okay if I spoil it? No, I'm not.
Yeah, I will.
I've had to feel that myself, because I haven't seen Infinity War yet. Problem is, I've arranged to see it with like a friend that was away and another friend, and then when the first friend came back, the other went away, so we haven't done that yet. So I've managed to avoid spoilers on that one, which is a bit of a feat given how much I go on comic websites.
It's like as soon as you see something that it even looks like what you're interested in, nope, scroll through.
Just yank the plugs out of the socket at the computer and walk away.
Throw the computer in the bathtub. There you go.
Yeah, just to be safe. To be safe.
Yeah. You'll like Infinity War. It was for
I'm sure.
For what they did, I think they set it up. Obviously, they set it up for a second one, but that's no spoiler there. But the amount of characters they had in it was incredible, and the amount of screen time they gave pretty equally to everyone was amazing in its own right. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly looking. I mean, we're in a great time for in inverted commas geek films at the moment, with Han Solo as well. I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna see that today, but as soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, really? Like, do I really want to see this? And then I saw an extended version of it. I'm like, okay, this isn't too bad.
Yeah, I would. Though it hasn't been sort of unanimously well received, I'm hearing a lot of good things. And like when I, initially heard of the concept of Rogue One, which is a bunch of rebels plans for the Death Star, I was like, what's even the point of doing that? And then, everyone loved that.
Yeah, and that was really well done. That was something that bridged a gap that was needed, kind of between Episode 4 and. Yeah, it's episode 3 and 4. So.
Yeah, and I think from what I've read while avoiding spoilers, I think there's that kind of thing going on with Han Solo as well.
Yeah, and then that's kind of what I'm kind of interested in, and it's looked like a good cast. I mean,
absolutely.
You can't go wrong with Ron Howard as a director. Truly, I mean, I don't think he's done anything wrong in terms of his filmmaking, but that's probably just me.
Maybe Far and Away.
Okay, I'll give you that one. that was a little much, but looking back on what you've accomplished over this past little bit here, it's good to have you back on. But is there anything else that you've been kind of tinkering away with in the background that you want to kind of maybe spoil a bit, or you're just all in for Geek-Girl?
I am all in for Geek-Girl. I mean, Carboncini Voodoo Junkie hit.
Yes, that's the one.
We got most of the miniseries done for that. She's previously only appeared in IFX Halloween anthology, and the intention was to have that out, I think, even before we did the second Geek-Girl miniseries. But I've now, having worked out what I want to do with the third Geek-Girl miniseries, Carboncini, the ex-crackcore turned supernatural gunfire, is going to have a role to play in that. So what I want to do is introduce her in there before the mini may come out at the same sort of time, but I'm kind of holding back the mini to do that. And I'm really interested to see what, because I haven't, this is a plan, I haven't written it yet, and her and Geek-Girl are quite different, and I'm interested to see how that dynamic goes. But when you get to the end of this Geek-Girl mini-series, it's kind of sets up what the third one's going to be, and like we've mentioned about the cliffhangers, I've got a doozy for that one.
You bugger. No, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I
go a little easier with the cliffhangers this time. No, I think they're kind of alternated. Issue 1 and 3 are not too cliffhangery, but issue 2 certainly is, and the climax of the fourth one is hopefully going to make some readers' jaws drop.
I'm sure you will definitely accomplish that, and I will still curse your name to the high heavens and all that other jazz once I see it.
Okay.
As always, though, where can we find yourself and your social media presence and all that jazz? I know you mentioned it earlier, but let's recap that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty easy to find on Facebook. If you've got any friends that are into comics, it's not unlikely we've got mutual friends. So look for Sam Johnson. There's a Geek-Girl Facebook group. As long as you're searching Geek-Girl, you should be able to get hold of that, the fan page. Geekgirlcomics.com is your best place to go to get the book, as it links to, as well as being able to get it out of the site, links to, like, you can get the digital one at Comixology. I'm just putting together a collector's pack of the variants for the new one. So Manuel, the new variant cover artist, I'm really pleased with what he's doing. We've got a cool limited variant for the first one, which is it's Ruby's phone, and the picture on it is a selfie of Geek-Girl and Summer, but the screen's all cracked after the fight with Lightning Storm, and that kind of gives you a nice sort of, this is kind of the feel of how we're going in with this. Yes, Summer, and despite Ruby's inability to function, still gets to look in on the variant cover. We've got the scene where she was left for dead, effectively, and then we've got Summer kicking in on the main cover.
That sounds awesome, man. I can't wait. And definitely toss me a link to the Comixology info once it gets up and going for the collection, for sure. Good stuff. Well, time flies as always speaking with you, Sam. I really appreciate coming back on. And I just can't wait for issue 2, 3, and 4. And it's going to be amazing. And I'll definitely have you back on once those start kicking in.
Thank you. And yeah, like, again, with the cliffhangers, though that isn't every issue this time, there are things happening that I've got to be very careful not to spoil. So I think it'll keep you on your toes.
Sam, I'm still gonna hate you either way, no matter what it is. But
love to hate. And
yes,
that's the key thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Canadian love. There you go. How about that?
Okay. Cool.
All right. Well, hey, thanks everyone for listening and watching. Two Geeks Talking. Of course, you can find our website at tgtmedia.com or twogeekstalking.com. You can find me on social media at Kurt Sasso, pretty much literally everywhere. It's Twitter, Instagram, whatever else I'm using these days. And if you want to get on the show, you can always email me, kurtsasso@gmail.com, or I have a contact information on a contact form, rather, I should say, on our website, tgtmedia.com. fill it out. Tell me what your comic or entertainment industry that you are in, and we will get you on the show. We'll talk and promote you. That's what we do here. Anyhow, thanks everyone for finally seeing another episode of Two Geeks Talking, and I will see you all on the next interview. Have a good night.